Hey everyone, this is the word problems portion of your Module 2 practice test. So many of you guys started on this word problem portion yesterday. So I'm going to go through how to fill in each of the three boxes. So the parts, the percents, and the whole. I'm going to go through putting the numbers in and your question mark. I'm going to put the highlight in, and then I am going to go ahead and solve the problem using the appropriate method. You may use a calculator on this portion of the test. You just have to be using the correct formula and write out the correct formula before you use your calculator. So number 1 says, Mr. Keim watched 20% of the football games this weekend. If Mr. Keim watched for 80 minutes, how many total minutes were the football games on TV? The first thing I have to figure out are what are my two parts. So my two parts are the amount of minutes that he watched football and what he did not watch. Because if he didn't watch all of it, there's some things that he didn't watch. So I have watched and not watched. Remember that your parts and your percents are going to be the same thing, but your percents have to add up to 100 and your parts are separate given information. And then our whole is going to be the total minutes of football. If Mr. Keim watched 20%, so that's going to go in my percent box, 20% of football. So I've got my parts, I've got my percents, and I've got the whole. If he watched 20%, then he did not watch 80%. Okay, because 20 plus 80 equals 100. He watched for 80 minutes. So it says if Mr. Keim watched for 80 minutes, how many total minutes? So there's my question mark. How many total minutes were the football games on TV? So now I'm going to go ahead and highlight what I'm going to use. Remember that your question mark should always be highlighted. Okay. My question mark here doesn't tell me anything else to highlight, because if I were to highlight not watched, then I have to use not watched for everything. But total minutes doesn't tell me what to highlight. So I'm going to look at what information I have available to me. I know that I watched 80 minutes and that that's 20% of what was on TV. I have both of those numbers, so I can use them to find the whole. To find the whole, I'm going to do the percent proportion. And if you're making a note card, this is going to be good information for that. So I'm going to have percent over 100 equals part over whole. So my percent is 20 over 100 is equal to, my part is 80, and I don't know the whole. To get from 20 to 80, I multiply by 4. So I'm going to multiply the bottom by 4, and I get 400. That is 400 minutes. Number 2 says Mr. King loves taking science tests on the weekend. Due to the football games on TV, he could not focus and scored a 65%. He missed 7 questions. How many questions were on the test? So when we talk about questions on the test, we talk about the ones that we got right and the ones that we got wrong. I think in class I said correct or incorrect. So we either get the questions right or we get them wrong. And the whole is going to be the total number of questions. So it says, due to the football games on TV, he could not focus and scored a 65%. Well, when you're talking about your score on a test, you're talking about the percent of questions that you got right. So that 65% belongs under the questions that he got correct. If he got 65% correct, that means that he got 35% of them wrong, because 100 minus 65 is equal to 35. Your percents have to add up to 100. And then it says he missed 7 questions. So he got 7 questions wrong. How many total questions, or how many questions were on the test? Well, I'm looking for the total number of questions. So when I highlight, I'm going to highlight my question mark first, so I know that I'm looking for total questions. And then I'm going to look at my first 2 boxes. I need one thing from each box to be highlighted. And in order to highlight something, I have to have all the information that goes with that thing. Well, I have all the information that goes with the questions he got wrong. This is another one of your percent proportion problems because I'm looking for the whole. So I'm going to do percent over 100 equals part over whole. So 35 over 100 equals 7 over the number of questions on the test. Well, to get from 35 to 7, I'm going to divide by 5. So when I divide by 5, I get 20 questions. Okay. Number 3 says a metal bar that is made of silver and gold weighs 9.25 ounces. If it contains 15.2% silver, how many ounces are silver? So my 2 parts are going to be what makes up the metal bar. So I've got silver and gold. And then I've got total ounces. So the silver and gold is the ounces of silver, the ounces of gold, and then I've got the total ounces of the bar. It says the metal bar weighs 9.25 ounces, so that's going to be my whole amount because it's made of both silver and gold, so it's all together. It contains 15.2% silver, so I could do 100 minus 15.2 to figure out what gold is. It's going to be 84.8%. But I'm looking for how many ounces of silver there are. So my question mark goes under silver. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight my question mark. So my question mark is silver. If my question mark is silver, then in the next box I have to highlight silver because that's the information that I'm looking for. I'm not looking for gold, I'm looking for silver. And then I should always have my whole highlighted because I have to use that one. It's the only thing in that box. For this one, I'm trying to find the part. Okay, to find the part, I'm going to change my percent into a decimal. So I'm going to do my percent as a decimal. And I'm going to multiply by the whole. Again, if you're making a note card, that's a valuable piece of information for that note card. So I'm going to change 15.2 into a decimal. So I'm going to take my decimal, move it 2 places to the left. So I get 0.152 times 9.25. And this one I can use a calculator. And I get 1.406 ounces of silver. So this was finding the part. So you're writing your percent as a decimal and multiplying by the whole. Number 4 says Mrs. Check has 20 horses. Every morning she feeds 60% of them and her daughter feeds the rest. How many horses does her daughter feed every morning? So we've got Mrs. Check and her daughter as our 2 parts. So she's doing some, and her daughter is doing some. And then we've got total horses. So it says Mrs. Check has 20 horses. That's the total amount of horses that she has. Every morning she feeds 60%. That means that her daughter feeds 40% because 100 minus 60 equals 40. How many horses does her daughter feed every morning? So the first thing I'm going to highlight is my question mark because I'm trying to find how much her daughter feeds. Well, if I highlight her daughter, then I have to highlight her daughter in the next box. And then I have to use my whole because it's the only thing in that box. Again, I'm finding the part. So I'm going to write the percent as a decimal and multiply by the whole. So I'm going to change 40%. So 1, 2 is 0.40 times 20. Again, you can use a calculator on these as long as you are showing me what you're putting in the calculator. And this is going to be 8 horses. Okay. Number 5 says, Mrs. Watson is an avid Michigan State fan, go green, and is a season ticket holder. Michigan State plays 8 home games each year, and Mrs. Watson attends 6 of those games every year. What percentage of the games does she not attend? So we've got games attended and not attended. So the games that I went to and the games that I didn't go to. And then I've got total games. Michigan State plays 8 home games each year. So if they play 8 home games, that's the total number of home games. And I attend 6 of them. Well, if I attend 6 of them, then I did not attend 2 of them. What percentage of games does she not attend? So which ones do I not go to? So when I highlight my question mark, I'm using the not attended, so I have to use the not attended to find my answer, and then total games has to be highlighted because it's the only thing in that box, and I have to have one thing highlighted in each place. This one, I'm finding the percent. To find the percent, I'm going to do part divided by whole times 100. So 2 divided by 8 times 100. 2 divided by 8 is 0.25. So that's going to be 25%. And remember that you need the percent sign. This has to be there for your answer to be 100% correct. If I am finding a percent, because it says what percentage, my answer has to have a percent sign. Okay, number 6 says Mrs. Shaw loves soccer and played in college. Her team played a total of 80 games, and she started in 72 of them. What percentage of games did Mrs. Shaw start? So we have the ones where she started and where she didn't start. Okay, and then we have total games. So her team played a total of 80 games. So I have 80 games. She started in 72 of them. That means that she didn't start in 8 of them because 80 minus 72 is 8. What percentage of games did Mrs. Shaw start? So there's my question mark. The first thing I'm going to highlight is my question mark. That's what I'm trying to find. If I highlight started, then I have to highlight started in the other box. And I'm going to use 80 total games. I'm finding the percent. To find the percent, I'm going to do part divided by whole times 100. So 72 divided by 80 times 100. You may use a calculator as long as you write this out. So 72 divided by 80 is 0.9. 0.9 times 100 is 90%. This is the end of the word problem or calculator portion of your Module 2 practice test. If you have any other questions that I did not answer, please let me know.